Please, help us find the person who killed my daughter.
This is only going to get bigger.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the brand new 7-part ITV series, The Long Shadow. This series is directed by Lewis Arnold and it stars, let's have a look, we've got David Morrissey, Chloe Harris, Steve Waddington and Toby Jones, as well as a lot of other recognisable faces. Certainly from people in the UK, from like dramas and stuff on the TV that you will watch. Now this 7-episode series focuses on a very dark time in the UK from 1975 to 1981, which was the reign of terror of Peter Sutcliffe, also known as the Yorkshire Ripper. This is just shown on ITV now, but you can stream and watch all the episodes if you've got like ITVX, which I essentially did. I watched the first episode, and then from the second episode onwards, I believe you could watch them all on ITVX. So yeah, this focuses from right at the beginning, and it follows the killings from the Yorkshire Ripper. And the first detective who was on the case was Toby Jones's DCS Dennis Hoban, who was in charge of the case, I think, for the first 4 killings. I think that's right. So you see Toby Jones's character for the first 2 or 3 episodes. I think he's right up until the 5th episode, I think you see him. But he's on the case for like the first 2 or 3 episodes. And because he's getting nowhere, making no progress, because the killings obviously continued, David Morrissey's character, he plays George Oldfield, who was the lead detective for the rest of the case for the Yorkshire Ripper, and did an even worse job, really. I think it's fair to say. Anybody that knows the Yorkshire Ripper and the Yorkshire Ripper case, and there's plenty of documented evidence out there. There is an excellent 3 or 4 episode documentary on Netflix called Ripper that is really, really good, that gives you all the insight, and it interviews people involved in the case and things like that. Essentially, there was many blunders by the police in the Ripper investigation. The biggest of which was when they got sent the tape from the guy claiming to be the Yorkshire Ripper, who had like a Geordie accent, and the whole investigation kind of spun on its head because George Oldfield believed that 100% that was the Ripper, and they weren't interested in anybody who didn't have a Geordie accent from that point on, if you like. And amazingly, they interviewed Peter Sutcliffe 8 times, I think, and at one point one of the detectives really did fancy Peter Sutcliffe as the Yorkshire Ripper. You know, he had that gut feeling that police have, and they wouldn't have anything to do with it because he didn't have a Geordie accent. So it follows the whole case from beginning, for when the killing started, when he focused on prostitutes, and that's another blunder that the police made. They just, you know, they were so laser focused on the fact that it was just targeting prostitutes that it really, you know, there were many victims that survived Peter Sutcliffe that they wouldn't take seriously because they weren't prostitutes. So I mean, they made many errors, and that's one of the biggest things that you take away from this 7-episode show, is how stubborn and how short-sighted the police detectives were in this case, and it was very frustrating to watch, watching them making these absolute errors, and how they would have been on the right track had it not been for them kind of being so stubborn in their approach to the investigating as well. And also as well, another thing that you took away from this 7-episode series was just how misogynistic and sexist the police were in that era, the 70s and the 80s. You can even argue now, I suppose, although it's obviously a lot better now, I think it's fair to say, but really, there was just not much of an excuse, really. I mean, obviously they wanted to catch him, but just some of the language that they used, towards, these women, some of, and I think that's another thing that this show got really, really right. It focused an awful lot on the victim's perspective, especially early on. The early victims, as to their lives. They weren't just prostitutes. They weren't just, I mean, because the police even called some of those who were being killed, who weren't prostitutes, they were calling them innocents, like the people that were prostitutes weren't innocent. I mean, it's scandalous behaviour, really. So I thought this was superbly made. I really, really do. Very frustrating to watch, but for the right reasons. It felt very, very authentic. Some staggeringly good performances, and gives a really good insight into the Yorkshire Ripper. Now, I am from Yorkshire. I'm from Halifax. One of the killings actually took place in Halifax, where I live. One at Yorkshire, Peter Sutcliffe killed somebody at Savile Park, which is just down the road from me, less than a mile away. So it's embedded, the whole Peter Sutcliffe saga is embedded into our DNA up in the north, especially in the Yorkshire. So you've got Halifax, Bradford, Leeds, Huddersfield, places like that. He was rife. So it's a big part of our DNA now. And it's nice to see that ITV has done the story justice, done the victim story justice to a large degree. I think anyway. I'm sure there may be, there are some of the victims that they could maybe could have put a little bit more time into, but I thought it was great. I thought Toby Jones, for me, stole the show. He was excellent. David Morrissey is unrecognisable as George Oldfield, and it was a really nicely done 7-episode series. So if you're interested in serial killer stuff, if you're interested in the Yorkshire Ripper, definitely give this a go. It's free to watch on ITVX or ITV Hub, and also if you haven't seen the Ripper documentary on Netflix, I highly recommend checking that out as well. So thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed checking out this review. I will of course be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.